Muhammad Adib had lost his sheep, and he didn't know where to find them. Or at least that's the story that was told afterward. Perhaps the 16-year-old shepherd really was looking for sheep or goats when he tumbled into that desert cave. Or maybe he was looking for ancient tombs that contained valuable artifacts. According to a local legend, Muhammad tossed a rock into a cave hoping to find a lost sheep. But what Muhammad heard instead when he tossed his rock wasn't the bleating of a sheep or a goat. What he heard instead was the shattering of pottery. And what he found in the broken jars in that cave would impact the world long after his wayward flock was forgotten. What Muhammad found in the winter of 1946 and 1947 were the first of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Before it was all over, more than 900 ancient documents were discovered, hidden in caves in the region known today as the West Bank. And where did these documents come from? Well, they seem to have been the library of a Jewish sect that had withdrawn to an isolated desert community known as Qumran. Around 220 of the Dead Sea Scrolls are fragments or scrolls of books from the Hebrew and Aramaic Old Testament. Some of these documents were preserved in jars, others were quickly buried in the cave floor. So why were the scrolls buried so quickly and then abandoned? Well, in the year 68 AD, the Romans had invaded Judea to crush a rebellion that had started 2 years earlier. It's possible that the Jewish community in Qumran hid their scrolls quickly before the Romans arrived, hoping to retrieve them later. But then in the year 70, Jerusalem was destroyed. Qumran was turned into a garrison for Roman troops, and the Jewish community never returned. And so the scrolls remained hidden for nearly 2,000 years. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were rediscovered in the 20th century, it became clear that the text of the Old Testament had remained remarkably stable over the centuries. In fact, a scroll of Isaiah found among the Dead Sea Scrolls was copied more than 100 years before Jesus was even born. Yet the wording of this scroll of Isaiah agrees in almost every detail with the Masoretic texts that were copied 1,000 years later. Over the course of a millennium of hand copying, the text of Isaiah had remained virtually unchanged. Now, in some other Old Testament texts, the Dead Sea Scrolls did reveal a variety of versions and some copying variations. But none of these variations has any effect on anything that we believe about God or about his work with the world. What the Dead Sea Scrolls have demonstrated is that God's word in the Old Testament did not change radically in the centuries after these texts were gathered together. Instead, over the course of hundreds of years, the books of the Old Testament were copied and they were preserved with amazing accuracy.